So, good evening and welcome to Daily News Simplified. In today's edition, dated 25th of August 2024, we are going to discuss the following articles with respect to our civil services examination. With respect to our mains examination, we are going to discuss two important articles. That is, first one with reference to India-US relations, and second one being a new reform that has been brought in by the present government, that is Unified Pension Scheme. With reference to the preliminary examination, we'll be discussing three important articles. First one being with respect to the Nicobar Project, then Glacial Lakes Outburst Flood, and the third one being RHUMI, that is a rocket that has been recently launched by a private sector enterprise in India. So without further delay, let us begin our discussion. So the first article that we are going to discuss with respect to our mains examination is India-US relations. The article featured on page number 6 of today's The Hindu newspaper. The context of this article is the visit of our Defense Minister Shri Rajnath Singh to United States. What is the syllabus mapping with respect to this article? This article can be mapped back to our GS paper 2 syllabus, that is India and its neighborhood relation, or the relations of India with various major powers of the world. In past, we have a precedent that in 2019 there was a direct question with respect to India-US relations. The question was, what introduced friction in the ties between India and United States in that Washington is that Washington is still unable to find for India a position in its global strategy. What would satisfy India? What would satisfy India's national self-esteem and ambitions? Explained with suitable examples. So this is what we have as a precedent, and right now, see, the article is, although the relationship is very multifaceted, but in this article we are going to discuss this relationship especially in the context of strategic partnership first, and then with specific reference to the current visit, what are the achievements of the present visit of Sri Rajnath Singh to the United States, right? So, before understanding Indo-US strategic partnership, let us understand what is the meaning of partnership. Then we will move on and understand what are the various facets of Indo-US strategic partnership. So, what is the meaning of partnership? Partnership or strategic partnership is different from alliance politics. So, alliance politics is a vestige of Cold War politics. So in Cold War politics, the world was divided in two camps. First one was West, and second one was East. It was led by the Soviet Union. The Western camp or capitalist camp was led by the United States. However, after the end of Cold War, the world got no other polarity of power politics, and the world bandwagon kind of United States, right? But at the same time, over the period, we came into a multipolar world, right? So in the one of the important feature of multipolar polar world is that we want our relationship with respect to various countries, we want our relationship to be independent of the other countries. So in this context, we sign strategic partnership agreements with various countries. For example, we have strategic partnership agreement with Japan. It was perhaps one of the first countries with which India signed a strategic partnership agreement. Similarly, we have it with USA, Japan. We even have it with South Korea as well, right? We have it with France as well, right? So this is the context of strategic partnership. One of the major elements of strategic partnership is that security issues become dominant in that particular strategic partnership, and the focus of trade, economy, and technology is there, but it is majorly dominated by the issues of defense partnership. Right now, it is considered as one of the most important or most desired mode of engagement in the contemporary world, and India has a strategic partnership with 30, nearly close to 30 countries in the whole world. Now, let us come to the elements of dimensions of Indo-US strategic partnership. So, obviously, when we talk about the strategic partnership, the first element becomes the defense partnership. So, uh, when we talk about India and USA, the defense partnership involves defense trade, joint exercises, personnel exchanges, cooperation in maritime security, and counter piracy. Over the period, you will see and understand that maritime security arrangement and defense trade has over the period evolved as the one of the important key pillars of the strategic partnership, right? Then the other elements are trade and economics. Right now, the trade between India and USA is close to 128 US billion dollars, and one of the features of this relationship is that it is in surplus for India. That means India is having a trade surplus with United States. The third element with respect to the strategic partnership is the development or joint development of science and technology projects. For example, we are also cooperating on projects like International Space Station, or we are also planning to send our own space station, establish our own space station. Then NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar, which is going to be launched after various delays. It is going to be launched in September, I guess, right? And we are also, US is also helping us establish a micron facility, right? Then with respect to other elements are counter-terrorism. We regularly conduct various bilateral joint working group exercises. We also share intelligence, information exchange, and operational cooperation. And to this effect, we have signed various uh, agreements like BECA, right? Then there are elements like energy security and diaspora and regional cooperation with respect to India and USA. Now coming back to the security element. So let us discuss this India-US strategic relations in the specific context of the security relationship. Now, why is USA importance for USA? What is the importance of this strategic partnership for USA? So, over the period, see how this thing emerged. That after the Cold War, who emerged as a clear winner? China emerged as a clear winner because China was set to become the new global hegemon. And to this effect, United States issued a kind of strategy that is called as a string of pearls strategy. Uh, uh, the basic rationality behind issuing this strategy was that they wanted to tell India and the whole world that China is kind of doing an encirclement of India and Indian Ocean to treat Indian Ocean as its hegemonic zone of hegemony, right? So, for rebalancing China in Asia, there is no other power that can counter China. No other country or power has it has a potential to counter China. So for USA, India is its linchpin for rebalancing of China or the rebalancing of global affairs. Then another important element of US foreign policy since past 200 years is that they have believed in free and open access to all the oceans of the world, and especially in context of Asia and Southeast Asia, there is a policy of United States that is free and open Indo-Pacific. And so Chinese actions with reference to creation of new islands, artificial islands, claiming islands of Vietnam, right, Philippines, so on and forth, they project, what do they project? That China has an ambition of creating South China Sea and larger Indo-Pacific region as its uh, backyard pool, right? So again, the policy of free and open Indo-Pacific can only be fulfilled while creating certain kind of uh, bilateral arrangements, right? Then the third aspect with respect to why US importance for USA of importance of India for USA is there, that India is, as per various CP reports, India is one of the largest markets of global arms, right? And For USA since 2008, USA has exported close to 22 billion US dollar worth of arms to India. So India is emerging as one of the largest depots of United States arms manufactured by the United States and United States various companies of the United States. Now let us come to why is a relationship or why is strategic partnership important for India. So for India, the first and foremost factor is China. China is doing rapid modernization, not just of its economy, its polity, not polity obviously, economy and governance, but it is also doing rapid modernization with reference to its military power. And with the help of this rapid modernization, it is also increasing its deployment capabilities and because it has a very strong manufacturing base, it is manufacturing naval vessels at a very fast rate. So to deal with all these challenges, again in the region of Asia Pacific and Indo-Ocean, Indian Ocean, we need the help of USA. And again, there is an element of there is a because of China Pak axis, there is a threat of two front war that we might have to face in the future. So to be prepared for this two front war, we need to have a preparedness with respect to our own military modernization as well. So for this to this effect, USA becomes important for India. Another element why USA is important for India is that close to 60% of Indian military hardware is of Russian origin. But over the period, it has been seen that although Russia never shies away uh, in sharing offensive weapon technology with India, but the problem is that uh, they have very various problems with respect to uh, maintenance, right? And right now, as we can also see that Russia itself is engaged in a protracted warfare with Ukraine. So another challenge is with respect to fulfillment of ongoing contracts and renewal of the contracts as well. So again, that is why we are shifting we are diversifying our military basket with respect to the Western weaponry and technology as well. Again, USA's importance for India is that USA's technology is considered as cutting edge technology and it makes a whole ecosystem, right? See, USA's technology is again compatible with French technology, uh, right? Again, British technologies as well, Israeli technologies as well, right? So they have complementarities with other Western systems as well. And one of the important aspects that is very less known is that uh, see, we can also say that almost all the arms that USA has, even we can get those arms from Israel as well. And Israeli arms will be very much cheaper as compared to the US arms. But the problem with again Israeli relationship is that Israel has equal and very good relations with China as well, right? So if China issues certain reservations with respect to sharing of arms with India, certain type of, let us say, for example, in future they raise an issue with respect to sharing of certain military components with respect to India, right? So Israel might come under the influence of China as well, and they might not be able to share that technology with us. But with USA, there are no such reservations with USA. So right now we can see that again the relationship between India and USA has very various complementarities. And again in the recent times, India's export to USA, India's export to USA has also touched close to $600 million, right? So it is not just that we are importing the weapons from USA, we are also becoming an exporter, and various small components are also export small defense components are also export it to the United States as well. Now let us come back to the recent visit and achievements of Defense Minister Rajnath Singh's visit to the United States. So the first element is that Shri Rajnath Singh has signed security for supplies arrangement agreement with the United States, popularly called as SOSA agreement. Once again, SOSA agreement. Right. So SOSA agreement, if you are a daily follower of DNS, we have just yesterday covered securities of supplies agreement. In this agreement, once this agreement is signed, in the times of crisis situation, in the times of crisis situation, USA will be able to help India, and India will be Indian companies will be able to help the United States companies, right? In the times of crisis like situation, we will be able to help each other in a very smooth and fast manner. So this is one of the agreement that was pending between India and USA. So this has been signed. Again, MOA regarding the assignment of liaison officers to the increase liaison officers has also been signed yesterday. So what is this liaising officers? Liaising officers, basically what they do is that they help in the sharing of information between the India and United States. So basically liaising officers का job यही होता है कि they share the information between the two states or two countries, right? So an MOA has been signed for that as well. The third one being posting of Indian Armed Forces officers in key strategic US commands. Right. So again, what is the inherent purpose? That they know the strategic objectives and strategic strategies with respect to our functioning, and we also get to know the key strategic functioning. How does the strategic command of the United States function? And you should mind that this is not a very easy thing, because different defense strategies are not shared that easily. So if we are signing an agreement which would amount to overseeing each other's and seeing each other, observing each other's strategic capabilities, right? So this is a major initiative. Then they have also held discussions on reciprocal defense procurement agreement, that is RDPA, which is in pipeline. So it is, I think it is one of the enhanced version of SOSA agreement, because in RDP agreement, the basic elements of SOSA agreement are there, but again at the same time, it will be legally binding once this agreement has been signed. It will be legally binding that they'll be mandated to help each other in the times of crisis. Then again, one of the important achievement was that anti-submarine warfare sonobuoys, that is uh, this sonobuoy is basically a military equipment which helps the MH-60R, that is this helicopter is called as MH-60R, and basically these sonobuoys, these are called as submarine hunters, right? So we have procured these helicopters from USA for tracking and hunting submarines in the Indian Ocean. So one of the key elements of hunting those submarines is we need sonobuoys for those submarines. So those we did not have as of now. So we have signed an agreement to purchase sonobuoys for MH-60R helicopters, right? And these helicopters have in past they have also been taken from United States. Next is large cavitation channel like project in India. So what is this large cavitation channel? These are basically research facilities. See, these are research facilities which help in the research and development of submarines. So as of now, USA has the largest such facility in United States, and we are planning to start one of these kind of research facilities in India as well, and we are going to get the knowledge and know-how about how to make such facility, and these facilities help in the manufacturing and basically research and development associated with the submarines, right? So this is what is the outcome of the visit of Sri Rajnath Singh, that is our defense minister. And now let us see what are the emerging issues with respect to the relationship between India and USA, right? So in the past, even United States has made it clear that they are not very happy with what is our India's stand with respect to Ukrainian war. So obviously, United States would have wanted that India sided with the Ukraine, or at least they should have sanctioned some kind of sanction to the Russian Federation. But at the same time, we are also purchasing the Russian oil. So again, the USA is very not very much satisfied with India's stand on the Ukrainian war. Then again, there are emerging issues such as Khalistan issue, uh, right? So again, it is seen right in the past as well that Khalistani protesters are getting kind of sanctuary in United States, right? So it is again an irritant in India-USA relationship, and there was an incident of San Francisco consulate attack to which United States did not do satisfactory work. And the last irritant in the relationship that can be seen in the recent times is India's relations with Iran, right? So again, because of the intensification of Iran and Israel war or the clouds of war, again USA would like to see India at least siding with the Israelis, but at the same time we have to maintain our relationship with the neighbor as well. So again, this is an irritant in the relationship. Now, what can be the way forward? So this partnership is very important for open Indo-Pacific and rule-based world order. Again, these two uh, key terms are very much important. Open Indo-Pacific, again, this reflects a direct challenge to what China poses, that China's ambitions are that this Indo-Pacific region should not be open, right? And rule-based world order, it means to say that China is a kind of country which does not follow the global rules and norms. So by saying that we need rule-based world order, they are trying to say that we want to establish Western, we want to establish or we want to continue the Western hegemony. And when China is trying to challenge that hegemony, uh, for the continuation of rule-based world order, India is important. Then at the same time, there is a potentiality which has been discussed, that there is a potentiality that trade between India and USA has a potentiality to reach $500 billion in the future. Then again, the next frontier that can be explored is increased export through joint ventures. USA can institute various companies in India as well. In fact, even Indian startups, with the help of Startup India and the Make in India policy, that is Atmanirbharta in the field of defense, we are also, what we are doing is that we are also coming up with various innovative products and various cost effective products. So even USA is also interested in small arms export from India, right? And then lastly, this partnership is important with the reference to shaping and emerging of new world order, right? So with this, we conclude the first topic for today. Let us see a question that is framed on the similar topic. Let us read this question. Discuss the evolving strategic partnership between India and United States with a focus on recent developments in defense cooperation. So again, this question is focused first on strategic partnership and then focused on defense cooperation. So obviously, in the field of defense cooperation, what will be the three main elements, primary elements to be focused would be: first one being defense, second one being counterterrorism, and third one being science and technology, right? So these three elements would be the primary elements of your discussion for answer. Is this partnership natural? See, because we keep on hearing these keywords in the newspaper that it is a natural partnership. It is it is a partnership between the largest democracy and the oldest democracy. So it is a very natural partnership between India and USA. So let us see the second part is this partnership natural or an outcome of recent changes in the geopolitical and geostrategic landscape of Asia Pacific? So in the second part, you have to address whether this partnership is natural or it is contingent upon the recent changes in the geopolitical climate of Asia Pacific, right? So you will address this answer, right? This is how you'll address this answer. Moving on to the second topic, that is unified pension scheme. It appeared on first page of the Hindu newspaper. What is the context? The government has come out with the unified pension scheme, right? So what is the syllabus mapping? With reference to your GS paper 2, social security is mentioned and governance reforms are also part of your GS paper 2. In the past, however, there has been no direct question in the mains examination, but social security schemes have contributed to the to various questions in the prelims examination, right? So there is a chance that there might be a question with respect to new pension scheme. What were the issues and challenges with respect to the new pension scheme, and how does the unified pension scheme address those challenges, right? So to understand this issue overall, let us understand what was the old pension scheme. And before understanding this, let us understand what is the rationality behind giving pensions to the government employees. So this topic should be and must be very dear to all the UPSC aspirants, because pension is a topic which is one of the very serious issues with respect to the civil servants as well. And even this recent step of coming up with unified pension scheme, the government has kind of done this under the pressure of bureaucracy, right? So why is pension important for people? Why is pension important for uh, the civil servant? First one being issue of dignity. Civil service or public service is inherently a nature of service, right? So it is considered that civil servants are servants of public. So they are doing what? They are doing the service to the public. And after the conclusion of this service, the civil servants should not be left at the mercy of market forces, right? It is considered that a businessman can earn enough in the in the course of his business. He or she can earn enough for his own lifetime, and he can build even a legacy for their children, right? But because the nature of civil service is service, so before the recent pay commissions, the salaries used to be very less. So to ensure the dignity and ensure the probity in governance, right? Why probity? Because probity is directly linked to uncorruptibility of character, right? So after retirement, the civil servant does not become susceptible to the attractions of private sector, right? So to ensure dignity of the civil servants and probity among the civil services, the concept of salary was sorry, not salary, pensions was introduced, right? So there was an old pension scheme till 2002, and in 2004 the government, Atal Bihari government, came up with a new pension scheme. So now what is the feature? What were the features of old pension scheme? So this was a defined benefits scheme, right? So what is the meaning of defined benefit scheme? That the benefits are defined. What is the benefit that you are going to get as per the old benefit scheme? That the 50% of last drawn salary would be credited as a pension, and this pension would be revised as per the recent trends in inflation twice a year, right? So the benefits were defined at the rate of 50% of the last drawn salary by the civil servant. Like for example, a civil servant retires at the age of 60. At that time, his last drawn salary, the basic salary is, for example, 60,000. So the last drawn salary of basic salary of the civil servant would be 30,000. So 30,000 would be given as a defined benefit, plus obviously uh, various arrears and everything would be given along with these 30,000. Inflation indexing would be there. So that would be the defined benefit scheme. Then second aspect was with respect to pension calculation. The third aspect was government contribution. This is very significant aspect, that government used to contribute the pension for civil servants, right? So civil servants did not have to contribute pensions or the pension corpus by themselves. government used to contribute pensions for their own civil servants, right? And this contribution used to range around um, maybe around 10%, right? Then another feature was there was no pension fund. What is the meaning of pension fund? This is a corpus in which the government sends, let us say, pension amount for all the civil servants are kept in this corpus. So no pension fund means this there was no corpus, and the current accounts of this pension was drawn from the current account of all the civil servants. Then another issue with respect to this was basically this was a concern that it was causing intergenerational equity issues, right? Then at the same time, let us discuss some merits with respect to old pension scheme. Provided it provided guaranteed and predictable pension to the civil servants, and they did not have to contribute to their own pension scheme, right? So again, when you do not have to contribute to your own pension scheme, that means your take away home income becomes increases. And then at the same time it provides guaranteed and predictable pension, that yes, 50% of the last drawn salary would be my guaranteed and predictable pension. But however, there were certain demerits, and because of these inherent pending demerits, these this scheme was shunted. First one being the liability remained undefined because of there was no corpus of funds. Right? You imagine, let us say the government has a corpus of fund in which there is regular contribution from the government as well as the employee. So the liability is well defined and well funded. But when there is no corpus, the liability remains unfunded and undefined, right? So again, this liability is taken on the annual government budget. Then another issue or another demerit was, this was one of the significant demerit, that over the period, because of the increasing level of healthcare awareness and healthcare facilities, the lifetime or life period of retirees increased. For example, in 90s, perhaps the retirement period was, a person retired on 60, he died on maybe, let us say, 70. So the pension would be given for 10 years. But because of the increased healthcare facilities, right now, for example, a person retires at 60, he would perhaps live till 90, 95, 100, right? So this period is increasing. So extended payouts were happening, and there was a rising financial burden on the current exchequer that has been discussed over here as well. That current exchequer, because these pensions were funded by whom? The civil servants were not doing any contribution. So this pension was funded by, ultimately, by the government, the budget, but and finally ultimately by the person who is being taxed. For example, I am not a government employee, but in that old regime, even I had to, because I am paying tax to the government, and government is ensuring the salary and the pensions of the civil servant. Let us see, I understand that since he is carrying out, a person X is carrying out government functions, he is entitled to a salary, and because he is carrying out public welfare functions, let us see, I can agree that my tax income can be given as a salary to him. But what about pensions? Right? There might be disputes regarding this. So again, rising financial burden, because of this, the government came up with the new pension scheme. In this chart, you can see pensions as a percentage of state's own tax revenue. How over the period this thing was increasing, and you imagine a state like Uttar Pradesh or even Uttarakhand, or let us take an example of here, where is Himachal Pradesh? See, annual revenue of Himachal Pradesh is 9,090 crores, and out of that, the expenditure of pension itself is 7,266 crores. So you imagine 79.93% of amount is spent in the pension itself. How will the government carry out welfare functions, right? So ultimately, it also led to reduced number of government employees intake, because they know that uh, they, the government employees will have to be given salaries as well as pensions. So again, this pension component is very much pinching, and the similar thing happened, was one of the rationale behind introduction of Agniveer scheme as well. That at the time of retirement or at the time of letting go after 4 years, a is fixed corpus of, let us say, perhaps 10 lakh would be given to an Agniveer, but no pension till eternity. That is what was the rationale. But now again, because of all these challenges, government had to backtrack on this scheme, and in 2004, from 2004 to the present year, we carried on with the new pension scheme. We'll also see the features of new pension scheme as well, but let us see and understand what are the salient features of unified pension scheme. So government has come up with a new pension scheme right now, which assures pension or at the rate of 50% of its basic pay, that is drawn over the last 12 months. That means they have kept an element of feature of defined benefits. That is, the benefit has been defined at the rate of 50%. Then assured family pension at the rate of 60% of the employee immediately before the demise. So even if the civil servant dies, his family would be getting 60% of the pension after the demise. 60% of the pension immediately before the demise. Then again, the third feature is with respect to assured minimum pension at the rate of 10,000 per month on superannuation by at the rate of when a civil servant or public servant carries out 10 years of service. Then another feature is inflation indexation. Obviously, DNS allowances are part of they are very well taken off. And then the fifth feature is lump sum payment at superannuation in addition to the gratuity at the rate of 1/10 of monthly emolument. So again, you can take the screenshot of various features, and let us see the comparative chart of what was the old pension scheme. So again, this pension old pension scheme has already been discussed by us. Let us understand what were the changes that were brought by the Atal Bihari government. So so from defined benefits, that is at the rate of 50% of last on salary, the government moved towards defined contribution. That means the government defined what is going to be the contribution of, let us say, a civil servant, and what is going to be the contribution of the government servant, and they were basically at the rate of around 14% plus 14%. That means in your own uh, this pension corpus, you will be contributing 14% of your salary, and the government will be matching that contribution. For example, if it is 14% and 14%, and then at the end of your by the end of your retirement, you will be getting pension, from which half of it would be the government's expenditure and half would be your own matching. So contributions were basically made by both government and employee, and in which 14% were fixed with respect to the government. Now, what were the benefit? No defined benefits, as accumulated wealth depend on the contribution made. So obviously, in the old pension scheme, for example, if a civil servant enters at the age of, let us say, 25, and he remains at the till the age of 45. So even after serving 20 years, he'll be getting the pension with respect to what would be that the present salary, right? But here the benefits were not defined. Why? Because the benefits were contingent upon the contribution made. So obviously, in 10 years, the contribution would be far lesser than serving when the person was serving for 20 or 30 or 35 years, right? So again, this was a bone of contention with respect to the civil servants. Again, pension amount or benefits both were dependent upon the number of years of service. The longer the years, the higher the pension. Now, with this old pension scheme was on one end, and the new pension scheme was on one end, and they have taken the best of features of both the schemes and come up with unified pension scheme. So it provides assured pension plus defined contribution. So defined contribution of the person is defined, but at the same time assured pension is also defined. Here government contributes 18 at the rate of 18% and employee contribution is at the rate of 10% to their own pension corpus. Now benefits are also defined. What are the benefits? At the rate of 50%. And then there is a element of guaranteed minimum pension of 10,000, and earlier in NPS it was 9,000, right? So there is an increase of 1,000 over here in the UPS. And retirement corpus and inflation indexation are obvious benefits as we have seen over here, right? Then again, in unified pension scheme, your pension depends on the last drawn salary. Pension is equal to 50% of last drawn salary. That goes in the benefit for the civil servant who even has, if the person in new pension scheme, this thing would have been far lesser. But in the in the unified pension scheme, the civil servant stands benefited. Now, what can be the issues and challenges over here in this scheme? Again, this scheme has been launched by the central government, and central government did it because the present government is, that is NDA government. Even various states in which BJP government was there, they were also turning back to the old pension scheme. So under various kind of pressures, right, they had to revert back to UPS. So other governments will have to again go back to either the old pension scheme, or generally, if not old pension scheme, unified pension scheme. And you see the state government's expenditures are already overburdened, right? So it is going to cause additional burden on the finance of state governments, which are already very less as compared to the central government purpose. Again, accumulation of liabilities can become a risk for future, which has been warned by the RBI that over the period there can be accumulation of liabilities, and at one point of the time your liabilities might become more than what you are getting as revenues. What would you do then? So there needs to be a tap on accumulation of liabilities. And then lastly, another concern raised by the employee unions is that government employees might not accept the proposal of mandatory contribution. Right. So what is mandatory contribution over here? This is the contribution of government. Right. This might vary dynamically because they have to ensure 50% of the salary as pension. And this is going to be a 10% is going to be fixed employee contribution. Means 10% of the salary. Suppose your basic salary is again at the beginning level 9, that is let us say 50 or 60,000, right? So 10% of it would be cut as a contribution towards pension, right? So the employees union are saying that they might not at all agree with all these with the mandatory contribution. But nevertheless, this scheme again strikes a middle ground between the burdensome old pension scheme and the very much neoliberal lean and mean new pension scheme. So this scheme strikes a middle ground between the two, right? So with this, our second article is again also completed. Let us discuss a practice question. The unified pension scheme, although there is very less liability that this kind of topic would come, but let us see this question. The unified pension scheme introduced by the central government aims to strike a balance, right? Strike a balance between the benefits of old pension scheme. Remember the keyword. This again, OPS was loaded with benefits, right? Because there was no contribution from the private individual, sorry, not a public servant. All the contributions were made by the government. The benefits of old pension scheme and the sustainability, again there is a element of sustainability involved with the new pension scheme, right? So NPS was envisioned with the feature of sustainability and OPS was loaded with benefits. So this strikes a middle path between between these two. You have to discuss this with, it is a 10 marker question, right? So again, let us move on to the prelims aspect of our discussion for today. Right. So the first article with respect to your prelims examination is Nicobar Project. This news featured on the page number 1 of today's The Hindu paper. The news reads that Nicobar Project will not disturb or displace tribes which has been committed by our minister Bhupendra Yadav. But in the context, the development of transshipment port and airport at Great Nicobar Island. So we have our island group towards our southeast, right? That is called as Andaman and Nicobar Island group. So we are going to develop a transshipment port, and uh, residential area in the Great Nicobar Island. So will not destroy the tribal habitats of Chompane and Nicobarese tribe as a part of. So this is the commitment that has been given by one of the ministers. Now in this context, let us discuss. This is basically based. This question is based on geography, right? So what? Let us see about Great Nicobar Island. The Nicobar Island is the southernmost of Andaman and Nicobar Island and has an area of 910 square kilometers. So it is the southernmost part of chain of islands known as Andaman and Nicobar Island chain. It is a cluster of 836 islands in the eastern Bay of Bengal. That is again, all these things need to be kept in mind. Perhaps there are chances that they are going to ask these kind of factual information as well in the preliminary examination, although not the number obviously, but they can ask the locations, that is eastern Bay of Bengal and the two islands which are separated by 150-kilometer wide 10-degree channel. And in the past, this exact question has already been asked, that Andaman and Nicobar Island is separated by which channel, right? So in this Great Nicobar Island, the end tip of Great Nicobar Island, that is called as Indra Point, is on the southern tip of Great Nicobar Island. It is India's southernmost point, right? Another feature of Great Nicobar Island is Galathea Bay, which is considered as the nestling ground for leatherback turtles. And is this particular island is inhabited by Shompen tribe and which tribe? Nicobarese tribe, right? So those two tribes are there, Shompen, Nicobarese, right? These are the native tribes of Nicobar Island, right? These are in a particularly vulnerable tribal group, and they are supposed to have migrated around 10,000 years ago to that place. Now, again, for the visual learners over here associated with us, we have taken this news clipping that Greater Nicobar Shompen tribe votes for the first time in general election. So this was again, this is a very recent news, May 2024. So electoral outpost was first time in in the independent India. Electoral outpost or electoral polling booth was established in Nicobar Island, and for the first time a Nicobarese tribe personnel uh, voted in the general elections in India, right? So these are the leatherback turtles, and the nestling site that is there in the Nicobar Island is by the name of Galathea Bay, right? Right. Now again, let us see the map of Great Nicobar Island. This is the capital Port Blair. Where is 10-degree channel? Here, around here, right? 10-degree channel is over here that separates the Andaman and Nicobar Island. Here at the end of the chain of Nicobar Island is Great Nicobar Island, and this transshipment facility is going to be established over here at the Great Nicobar Island. Now what is the rationale given by government for this project? The first rationale that is given by the government is to counter Chinese increasing presence in the Indian Ocean region. Again, we discussed this element of string of pearls for Chinese expansionist policies in the Indian Ocean as well, in the Indo-US relationship aspect as well, right? Again, another issue is with respect to curbing and stealing of marine resources by poachers of Myanmar. Right? See, just above this Andaman island lies Myanmarese islands. Right? So again, the poachers from Myanmar come to these pristine waters, these areas, and they indulge in the practices of marine poaching and stealing. So to counter those challenges, again, this transshipment facility and the overall hub is going to help in that to that extent, right? Then again, the third aspect is bridging infrastructure gaps in the region, and last one and most important one objective is to promote international trade by allowing the port to provide an alternative to Singapore ports, right? You imagine Singapore, the whole economy of Singapore is based on the uh, the port economy, right? So again, we there is a dream, there is a vision that we in India should also have one of such major ports on which provides as an alternative to the ports at Singapore, deep sea port, right? Now, what are the concerns? The concerns are Champagne people might be marginalized. There are challenges with respect to environmental impact assessment, that is, endemic flora and fauna might be displaced, and diversification of forest is another challenge, right? So, based on the information that we have received in the past in 2014, right? Let us read this question that directly came on 10-degree channel. Which of the following pairs of island is separated from each other by 10-degree channel? Right? So answer was Andaman and Nicobar. Right? Practice question. Consider the following statements about Andaman and Nicobar Island. India's southernmost point on land, that is Indra Point, is located on this island. So these three statements are in the context of Great Nicobar Island. So is the statement one correct? Yes. This is this island is home to Jarawas tribe. So is this statement correct? No, because it is home to Shompen tribes and Nicobarese tribes. Statement 2 being incorrect. Leatherback turtles breed on this island. Yes. Statement 3 being correct. The right answer is C. Moving on to the second question, second preliminary question for the day. The second preliminary question is about the glacial lakes. This small snippet appeared on page number 7 of today's Indian Express newspaper. What is the context of this news? That Sikkim government is launching a high altitude expedition to assess flood susceptibility of 5 high risk glacial lakes in the upper reaches of Mangan district. Right. So obviously at the upper reaches of Sikkim, there are various glaciers, and because of the issues like climate change, these glaciers are melting faster than they should have been. And because of the melting of glaciers, various glacial lakes are formed. To check the sustainability and and vulnerability of these lakes, we'll see what are the challenges and problems that might emerge with the formation of these lakes, right? In the coming slides. But various lakes are forming as of now. Various lakes are forming, glacial lakes are forming, and then they are becoming vulnerable as well for the population, right? So to check their susceptibility, government of Sikkim has launched a high altitude expedition. Now, what is a glacial lake? So this is a reference picture. This is not a glacial lake from Sikkim, but it is a reference picture. You can see these are the glaciers, right? Glaciers are basically rivers of frozen ice, right? And at the end of this glacier, because this glacier might be receding, the reason could be anything, because of climate change, because of normal course of period of liquidation of ice, right? So at the end of this glacier, this lake has been formed, right? this lake is a example of glacial lake. Now, what is a glacial lake? It is a body of water that originates from a glacier, right? Why it is originating from glacier? Because it is fed by a melting of glacier. It typically forms at the foot of a glacier, right? This is the foot of a glacier. That means the glacier is terminating at here, and at the foot of the glacier, the ice is melting and forming a glacial lake, but may form in or under it. But however, this glacial lake might form inside the glacier and under the glacier as well, right? It might form inside the glacier as well and under the glacier as well, right? Now, what are the types? Supra glacier lakes that are formed in front of the ice, right? Proglacial lakes or underneath the ice that are called as subglacial lakes, right? So these are the kind of glacial lakes that are formed. Generally, this kind of glacial lakes are formed, which are found at the foot of the glacier. Now, let us understand the phenomena of glacial lake outburst flood. So, when there is an abrupt discharge of water from glacial lakes, right? For example, this is a diagram, this is the glacier, and here there is a formation of glacier lake at the foot of this glacier, right? When there is an abrupt discharge of water in the glacial lake, it leads to glacial flooding. Why? Because the corners of this lake, they are formed by the depression that is filled with meltwater. Now the corners of this lake are formed by the weak sediments, right? Because these corners, this area, even this once this area was also a glacier, but because of the receding of this glacier towards upside, this lake was formed. And because you also have read in NCRT that again glaciers, the action, geophysical action of glaciers is very strong, right? So these boundaries of these glacier lakes are considered as weak boundaries. They are dammed by unstable ice and sediments composed of loose rock and debris. So obviously these boundaries of these glacial lakes are found by either sedimented sediments or rocks and debris, right? So you must have also heard a recent news that in Kedarnath Valley, again this time because of the flash floods, one lake has been formed. So again, that lake must be very weak because the nature of the formation of lake is it is formed by the sediments and rocks and debris which came with along with the falling of mountains, right? So these lakes are considered as very weak, and once there is a heavy downpour or avalanche, right? Either it can be downpour or avalanche. In these kind of situations, this water overpowers that boundary and devastates the downstreams, right? And this phenomena is called as glacial lake outburst floods, right? And increasingly over the period in the recent times, it is attributed that these GLOF events are caused because of increasing anthropogenic footprints on the glacier, and these are increasing the events of GLOF, right? Now for tackling this, for dealing with this, the government has come up with National Glacial Lake Outburst Flood Risk Mitigation Program. So this was again mentioned in the news as well. What is the budget for this program? It is 150 crore, and the participating states are Himachal, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. Again some other states are there, but these are the and JNK. These are the primary states in which there are concerns with respect to glacial lake outburst floods. What are the key objectives of the program? To provide technical hazard assessment to the state governments, to ensure, develop, and deploy an early warning system with respect to glacial floods. Then again, to suggest lake lowering measures. What is the meaning of lake lowering measure? That water can be taken out from those lakes in a sustainable manner in which it does not destroy the lake altogether at one instance and cause flooding. And then collaboration, this scheme is in collaboration with Central Water Commission, Geological Survey of India, and Indian Army, among the other organizations as well. Right. For us in this context, let us discuss APYQ. In past, there has been a question on various glaciers, right? With reference to India, Didwana, Kuchaman, and Sargol and Khatu are the names of, the answer was right A, glaciers. Now let us solve this practice question. With reference to India, Vasudhara, Maban, and Pyangru are the names of. Again, the right answer is glaciers. But you now tell me in the comments, where are these glaciers located? At the same time, again, while the students who are just starting their preparation, they should take out their Oxford Atlas and map the important glaciers of J&K, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh, right? They should map and find the location of all the glaciers, because in past, again, there have been questions like Bandarpooch glacier pe bhi there was a question in past. So glaciers is one of the favorite topics of UPSC. They keep on asking questions with respect to glaciers and their location and associated rivers, right? Moving on to the last topic for today, that is with respect to RHUMI. What is the context? The launch of first reusable hybrid rocket, that is named as RHUMI. Now, what is RHUMI? It is reusable hybrid rocket. There are two elements. First is reusability, right? It can be reused, that is used multiple number of times, and then that is second feature is hybridity. Hybridity means it works on two fuels, that is solid fuel and liquid fuel, right? It is an innovative propulsion system designed to combine the advantages of both solid and liquid rocket engines. Hybrid rocket like RHUMI use combustion of solid fuel and liquid or gaseous oxidizers, right? So again, it can be reused, that is used multiple number of times, and it works basically on both solid and liquid fuels. Now, what are the key features about this project RHUMI or this rocket? First one being reusability. It is designed to be used multiple number of times. This ultimately increases the cost of space missions and space operations, especially with reference to space logistics. For example, you must be seeing Elon Musk's SpaceX. They have also developed reusable rockets that can be launched multiple number of times and then they come back to Earth. So basically, again, the motive here is space transportation, and to that extent, reusability of the rocket is important because it increases the decreases the overall cost of the missions. Second one is safety. Hybrid rockets are generally safer than liquid rockets. Why? Because liquid rockets may they have to carry liquid oxygen as well, and then at the time of mixture and handling, they are susceptible to various accidents, right? So again, they are safer as compared to wholly liquid rockets. Then third one being efficiency. uh, See, why do we need a hybrid model? Because solid rockets or rockets working on solid fuel provide higher level of thrust, and liquid fuel rockets provide high level of controllability. So these hybrid rockets give us the best of both, that is high thrust plus movability. right? So that is why rockets like these are important. Second one being, next one being environmentally friendly. They are designed to use less toxic and more environmentally friendly propellants. And last one being versatility. By uh, versatility, we means hybrid rockets can be tailored for different missions, from suborbital flights to deep space missions to space transport. And as of now, this is one of the very elemental or very basic model. But again, this is a step in the right direction. This is something akin to what SpaceX is doing in United States, and one day we hope to see that it could carry even human beings as well, right? So, based on the information given below, right, in 2018 there was a direct question on satellite launch vehicles, but this was on government-owned companies like ISRO, right? So, the right answer you can see. Let us discuss a practice question based on the above topic. Consider the following statements regarding reusable hybrid rocket, that is uh, RHUMI, reusable hybrid rocket. First, RHUMI uses combination of solid fuel and liquid or gaseous oxidizer for propulsion. Yes, statement 1 is correct. Hybrid rockets like RHUMI offer a safer alternative to liquid rockets due to separation of fuel and oxidizer. Yes, again we understood that hybrid rockets are much more safer than purely liquid propellant based rockets, right? So statement 2 is also correct. And statement 3, RHUMI aims to reduce environmental impact of rocket launches by using less toxic propellants. Again, we see that statement 3 is also correct. So which of the statement given above is are correct? The right answer would be D, that is 1, 2 and 3. So with this we conclude the session for today. I hope to meet you soon. Thank you and have a good evening.